Hey everyone, so in this video we want to quickly talk about how to control your simulations, how to kind of control what is calculated in your scene, because so far we didn't have anything that really needed a lot of calculation time, but from now on we talk about simulations and then this can become problematic. So I want to give you a couple of hints. So the first thing is when you want to delete a simulation that you already have, which you can see here on the blue line in the timeline, that means this part is already cached and simulated. Sometimes you want to delete it, and you can do that in the node itself under reset simulation, or you can delete all the caching simulations in your whole scene by clicking on this brain here while pressing Control. So by pressing Control and on the brain, as you can see, we just deleted all the caches in our scene. And that's a good way of kind of rewinding everything and put it back to zero. Now the next thing is sometimes, and you probably have already noticed that, when you have a long running simulations, you can just press escape and stop it. And then it just stops wherever it is right now. So I clicked on frame 159 here, but it stopped earlier because I just pressed escape and stopped it from finishing, because I realized I made a mistake and want to change it. So of course you don't have to wait for your simulation to finish. But sometimes you don't even want your simulation to start. And what I mean by that is, for example, when you go inside of your setups and you change numbers, the moment you change a number, your scene starts to recalculate because it realizes, oh, you changed something, let me calculate with a new version. And this can be really annoying, especially if you're in the middle of adjusting a couple of numbers, because basically what happens is you change one number, then you press escape, then you change the next number, press escape again, then you change another number and you press escape again, and so on. Kind of annoying. And for this case, you can actually turn off any simulation for a temporary moment by clicking on the brain without control. You're just turning simulations off. And if you actually move your mouse in the viewport, Houdini tells you that you just turn it off so that you don't forget about it. It says dynamic simulation disabled. And that just means the simulations are disabled. That's important to understand because it means you still update everything else. So for example, if I look through my sphere and then through my VDB from polygons here to turn this into a volume, this will still happen. So everything on SOP level will still be calculated, but every simulation is deactivated. And so nothing comes out of my pop simulation here. Now, sometimes, and this is super helpful if you need to change a couple of things, sometimes you even want to disable everything. And many times, to be honest, I use this, even though I could use the brain. I switched the very right menu from auto update to manual. And that just means, and as you can see, it doesn't even update what you look through. So this is kind of an extremer version of what we saw before with the brain. And here is the same. It tells you update mode is manual, view may be out of date, which means, as you can see here, I don't know, maybe a mountain node or something, then it actually will not calculate. As you can see here, if it hasn't been calculated before I changed to manual, it will not show up in the viewport because it has basically no idea about this in the memory. And this can be helpful to kind of turn off everything if you kind of don't want anything to be calculated, because sometimes even SOP nodes can be pretty slow. But if it's only the simulation that annoys you, then just go back to auto update or keep it at auto update and then just turn off the simulation calculation by just clicking on the brain. But both works, and it's pretty helpful to be able to do that, to kind of turn things off for a moment. Okay, let's turn everything back on because I want to finally talk about something that some beginners can run into, and that is when you have just one simulation or multiple simulations in your scene, and you kind of switch to a frame and then you save your file and open it back later, you can run into the problem that when you open the file, it actually starts to simulate your scene. And this can mean it takes a while before you actually can open your file because in the background Houdini is calculating. Of course, you can always press escape to stop this from happening, but a bit more elegant is to make sure it doesn't start the simulation when you open the file. And you can do that, and this is something I made a habit for myself. whenever you have geometry nodes that have simulations in it on the object level, just make them invisible so that you don't see their result basically on the object level. And now, as you can see, I can jump around in my time and it will never kind of trigger the simulations in the geometry node. So this is a good little trick. If you have complex scenes, just turn all the visibility off on the object level, save your file, and next time you open it, it will not start to trigger all the calculation it needs inside of those nodes. Of course, it will still do that once you go in. Okay, so this is how you control your simulations a bit more, or your calculation actually overall, which can be quite important when you have more complex scenes. So yeah, I hope this is helpful, and in the next couple of videos we talk about how to actually create simulations that could potentially annoy us. So thanks very much and see you later. Cheers.